Back in 2006, the two directors, Johnny and Luke, would bring over cars from Japan, so that would be the imports side. Some cars would get sold, some cars would get stripped, just for parts and stuff like that. Like when you have a Japanese car over here that's not a common place over here, having a point of place to get parts like that is helpful to have if you're trying to maintain something that might not necessarily be the easiest thing to look after. I think from that we've managed to sort of build a foundation of, being able to provide that for a multitude of different marks over the years. And so now it's sort of less about cars and more about parts.
Before using the Dispatch company as our sort of WMS software to manage all this, we were with a different provider, and it worked, but there was no sort of progression. It worked because we had a lot of workarounds in place, and we just knew how the system sort of worked for us. But there was a lot of that wasn't using it as it was intended. There was a lot of downfalls. For example, we weren't printing out pick lists. We were printing out actual dispatch labels straight away that had a pick sheet on there, which meant that if that order then required more boxes for packaging, they had to come back into the office, the warehouse staff did, and say, oh, actually this is going in 2 boxes, and we'd have to redo that order and redo the labels. The shipping label would have on the pick sheet, but it also meant that as soon as we printed that, the customers were notified of dispatch. So if there were then any delays or stock anomalies that caused the order to be wrong, then we would then have customers thinking their order's on the way because they've had a dispatch notification, when really it's still sat out here because we can't find a part or something else has gone wrong. And I think that was, although it wasn't intentional, that did create sort of a poor service for the customers if that happened to them. And then obviously the label thing, having to redo the order essentially to produce extra labels, was also a nightmare because I was having to do that several times throughout the day, and it was frustrating because it felt unnecessary. The biggest frustration came when there was basically a price hike overnight that it went up 10 times, which obviously, as you can imagine, in one go is not really acceptable. It's not a good way to do things, and that was our biggest reason for then starting to look elsewhere, because it wasn't feasible for it to go up so much when we were still using the same software that hadn't really evolved over the previous sort of 5 years.
It was a no-brainer, really. It was a cost move. Well, then we realised that actually the features and benefits and the way the software works, actually, when we've got there after some development with the company, is actually in a better place now than it was.
So the Dispatch company has helped us expand our courier network quite a bit, to be honest, because it's quite easy for us to set up new couriers now, many of which I've even been able to do myself. Things like APC now that we use for shipping out tyres, because some of the other couriers couldn't deal with unboxed tyres. We found someone that could, and the integration was very, very easy. I've gotten quite used to the system, so sometimes I can figure it out, or sometimes I'll just put in a support ticket, and rather than having loads of us all sending in tickets, most of the time the staff here will email me and I'll put the ticket in and sort of liaise with DC that way and try and get it sorted for them. Since we implemented the Dispatch company, time savings, I'm not having to mess around with orders a lot because it's a lot easier for our warehouse staff to do what they need to do. Everyone's department seems to work a lot better, which means I'm not running around trying to, chase or fix other things.
It's kind of fundamental to the business, how the business is running right now. It's the backbone to the whole system, really.